Good Sunday afternoon, everybody. Blake Matthews here. Hey, the very latest information on now Hurricane Maria is now just in from the National Hurricane Center. Again, we have now gone from a tropical storm Maria to Hurricane Maria. In fact, they have just issued brand new hurricane watches and warnings for the island chains. Now, we're going to continue to watch this storm fairly carefully, and the reason being is that it could have an impact on the U.S. East Coast coming up next week. So here's the very latest. Now, they haven't quite updated the graphics yet, but I can at least show you the latest information. Here's what the watches look like right now, but I suspect that they have now added hurricane watches for the island of Puerto Rico. So what we're going to do here is we're going to read through this together. Here's the very latest just in from the National Hurricane Center. Let me refresh this just a second. And there you go. Maria becomes a hurricane as of 5 o'clock Atlantic Standard Time. So this is just now coming in. The pressure down to 982 millibars. And we will click the forecast discussion. And let's see what the forecast is. So they have it getting up to 125 miles an hour, it looks like, heading into the next 3 to 4 days. No, Chris, this does not look like it's going to have an impact on Texas at this time. Here's the latest for the watches and warnings. Again, this just now coming in from the National Hurricane Center. A hurricane watch has been issued for the U.S. Virgin Islands. The government of Antigua and Barbuda has issued a hurricane watch for the Virgin Islands. So I do not see anything for Puerto Rico at this time. Tropical storm warning for, let's see, hurricane watch, U.S. Virgin Islands, Antigua, Barbuda. So it does not look like they have issued a hurricane watch yet for Puerto Rico, but that is something that will likely happen. And again, this just now coming in. I'm waiting on everything to be updated on the website and waiting for my graphics to update as well. Again, this is brand new information just now coming in. And again, there's the very latest on the watches and warnings for the island chains. Hurricane watch here for the northern islands, a hurricane warning that does now include Guadalupe. And Puerto Rico, you guys will be under a hurricane watch probably beginning as early as tomorrow morning. So if you have any interest out in Puerto Rico or Hispaniola or the islands out here, the Leeward Islands, you're certainly going to want to pay close attention to this storm. Let's see if my graphics have updated here. Give it just a second to load. Yeah, it has. So Hurricane Maria, winds 75 miles an hour, west-northwesterly moving at 15, and that pressure again down to 982 millibars. Remember, there is a direct relationship here between wind and pressure. It's an inverse relationship, so when one goes down, the other goes up. So the lower that pressure gets, the higher the winds get. So here's the very latest cone from the National Hurricane Center. They have it getting to a 100-mile-an-hour hurricane as early as tomorrow. By Wednesday, there's, let's see, where's Puerto Rico? Puerto Rico's right there. Pushing right over Puerto Rico is a Category 3 hurricane with winds as high as 125 miles an hour, staying just to the north of the Dominican Republic as a 125-mile-an-hour hurricane, and then getting into the Leeward Islands here as a Category 3 as well. Let me expand the picture, and you'll see that the spaghetti models are all over the place, from as far out as the Central Atlantic to as far west as Florida. So we're going to have to watch this one very, very carefully, especially those of you living along the Carolina coast there. Again, for those asking about Texas, this does not appear to be a Texas system. I feel fairly confident in saying that. All the models at this time do take Maria, now a hurricane, up the East Coast somewhere. Whether it makes impact or not, it does appear that it will make that turn at some point. So again, that's the very latest information coming in. We now have a brand new hurricane, Hurricane Maria. It should be passing through the island chain way out here, heading into tomorrow afternoon. So again, this is going to, there's Barbados right there, and getting up into Barbuda, getting into St. Martin. This is the area that was so heavily devastated by Irma just a week or so ago. And then again, passing right over Puerto Rico. There's San Juan as a Category 3 hurricane. Looks to be just south of the island. That would put the island on the dirty side of the storm where the strongest winds are, and then pushing just to the north of the Dominican Republic, heading into Thursday afternoon as a 125-mile-an-hour Category 3 hurricane. Now remember, Category 4 is 130, so we could easily have a Category 4 hurricane pushing into Puerto Rico as well, because there you go, by Wednesday afternoon, 125-mile-an-hour winds, we could easily have a Category 4 pushing into Puerto Rico. So again, all family and friends out there on the island, certainly give them the heads up. Now's the time to prepare. They're not under hurricane watch yet, but it certainly looks like they are facing a direct impact by a very nasty hurricane over the course of the next couple of days. So yes, I see the comments coming in. It has been a hellacious hurricane season for sure. We've had 2 major hurricanes hit the United States, a major hurricane moved through the Leeward Islands. Looks like we have another major hurricane getting ready to hit the island of Puerto Rico in the next couple of days. Adam, Lee has dissipated. Lee is no longer a threat. So that's at least a little bit of good news there. So we're going to continue to monitor this storm pretty carefully. You can see that cone generally pointed right towards the Bahamas, but if you look carefully, there does appear to be a little bend at the very end in that cone. So an indication the Hurricane Center does believe that this will begin to take off towards the north once it gets in this general vicinity here as a trough of low pressure begins to dig into the eastern United States. I put this graphic together here, and this is just kind of a real loose presentation of what's going on. As soon as I can find it, I'm not sure what I did with it. Give me just 1 second. There it is. So here's what's going on. We have the shower chances returning, and that's the reason why is because we have high pressure off to our east, giving us a strong southeasterly wind, a southeasterly flow off the Gulf of Mexico. But there's 2 high pressure systems here. The first one, let me back that up just a little bit. So there's Jose right there. It's caught between 2 high pressures. You've got the Bermuda high out to the east, and you've got a regular high pressure system sitting over Florida. Well, Jose, remember, high pressure acts as a block. So it can't go left, it can't go right, all it can do is go north, and that's exactly what the National Hurricane Center is calling for. But as we move forward into time, watch the high over the United States. It's going to build to the north, kick Jose out of here, and then it begins to retreat a little bit. And how far to the west that high pressure begins to retreat is going to determine how far west Maria gets. And again, if this high perhaps is a little stronger, maybe out over in this region here, it gets closer to the United States. If this high, the Bermuda high, is maybe a little weaker, Maria stays out over the water. So we're going to have to watch this one very carefully to see exactly what happens. But right now, certainly a very intense hurricane shaping up here, just pushing into Puerto Rico by Wednesday, again, as a Category 3 or Category 4 hurricane. So all preparations need to be underway there on that island as we speak, as they gear up for yet another hurricane, the 3rd one in 2 weeks, especially for the islands there. I've never in my career seen one place put under a hurricane watch 3 times in 2 weeks. That's pretty unprecedented. But, you know, keep in mind that it's been 12 years since the United States has seen a major hurricane hit. Ike was not a major hurricane, although it did have a major hurricane storm surge. Ike was officially not a major hurricane. But even using that metrics, let's say Ike is a major hurricane. It has still been 9 years since the United States has seen the impact of a major hurricane. That is an extremely long drought. So it was bound to happen. You know, you think back to 2004 where Florida got rammed by 4 hurricanes in one season. So it's not unprecedented. It's just been a while. And that's why we're going to have to watch this one closely because, you know, frankly, we're a little rusty here in the United States. It's been a while since we've seen a number of impacts from a hurricane season. And of course, we had Harvey, we've had Irma, and now it appears as though we have Maria, again, slated to be a major hurricane as it pushes over the island of Puerto Rico. For those of you just joining us, here's the very latest from the National Hurricane Center. Again, this is brand new information. Let it load up here just 1 second. And there you go. You can see that storm, a very well-defined system. The hurricane hunters have been flying this for the last couple of hours. They have found the pressure continues to fall. Remember, it's an inverse relationship. The lower the pressure gets, the higher the wind gets. And this hurricane is going to push right through the same island chain that has got obliterated by Hurricane Irma. In fact, the island of Barbuda has not been, or is uninhabited now for the first time in 300 years. There's not a single tree or a single building left standing on that island, totally decimated. And now, got another hurricane moving into that same island chain, and this one has its sights set on Puerto Rico, again, making landfall as a Category 3 and or 4 hurricane. here's the latest from the National Hurricane Center. So we'll go ahead and zoom on in, and you can see it moving right through the island chain. Okay, and then getting into San Juan, Puerto Rico. Follow that line down. Wednesday afternoon with 125 mile an hour sustained winds, and could easily be a Category 4. Keep in mind, Category 4 begins at 130. They're forecasting 125. So, the damage between a strong Category 3 and a weak Category 4 is going to be identical. You won't be able to distinguish the two apart. So, the Puerto Rico needs to prepare for a catastrophic hit by Wednesday afternoon. Then that storm begins to slowly, see that line kind of bend to the north a little bit as it pulls into the Turks and Caicos Islands by the time we get to Friday. And then where it goes from there, you can see the models stretch from South Florida all the way out into the open Atlantic east of Bermuda. So the possibilities are large, and it remains to be seen exactly what happens with Maria at this time, but we're going to have to watch this one closely. But again, those of you that are asking about Texas, this is not going to be a Texas threat. Yes, those of you that are commenting on Ike, Ike was definitely a bad hurricane for Houston, no doubt about it. It was the storm surge that was so bad with Ike. It had a Category 4 storm surge, but the winds really never got above 100 miles an hour in Houston or in Galveston. In fact, I wasn't able to find a single report of winds over 100 with Hurricane Ike. So Ike was not a major hurricane, but even if you call it one, let's say, okay, yeah, Ike was pretty bad. It's still been 9 years since 2008 since the U.S. got impacted by such a strong hurricane. So we've been in a bit of a drought. So, yes, it's bad. It's a bad hurricane season, but, we've seen this before. It's happened many, many times before. In fact, I believe it was in 1886, Texas was hit by 4 hurricanes. Florida was hit by 3 hurricanes in the same year. So that was 7 hurricane strikes in the year of 1886. So, no, this is not unprecedented. Yes, it's been a long time. We just need to focus on each storm as they come and hope that this one turns out to sea long before it gets to the U.S. East Coast. But again, remains to be seen. The models are kind of all over the place once you get out into this time frame here, heading into next weekend. So we'll just have to continue to watch this day by day. Until then, that's the very latest on Hurricane Maria. And I'll continue to keep you updated on that. I'm going to get ready for our 5:30 show, and I'll see you on TV. Until then, I hope everybody has a great afternoon. Stay dry. Bye.